Lights go up, the crowd's in a buzz. Hawk talk start from mighty thud. Voices sharp like a razor blade. Breaking news like a wild cascade. Tune in now, it's time to soar. Hawk talk brings us what you're here for. Bold predictions, call it how we see. We're the voice that sets you free. Post on fire, you can't deny. Hot take sharp with no alibi. Game analysis deep as night. Get ready for an epic ride. Tune in now, it's time to soar. Hawk talk brings us what you're here for. Bold predictions, call it how we see. We're the voice that sets you free. We call the plays before they happen. Feel the rush as the crowd is clapping. Stand tall with your team above. Hawk talk anthem, feel the love. Tune in now, it's time to soar. Hawk talk brings us what you're here for. Bold predictions, call it how we see. We're the voice that sets you free. Tune in now, it's time to soar. Hawk talk brings us what you're here for. Bold predictions, call it how we see. We're the voice that sets you free. We're the free. Set you free. We're the voice that sets you free.
What is up? Welcome in, everyone. Welcome into this beautiful Wednesday morning. It is a gorgeous 58 degrees outside. It was 50 when I woke up. Had an absolutely fantastic weekend. Wife and I went to St. Louis. We went to the Botanical Gardens with the Japanese festival on Sunday. We went and hung out in downtown with the Arch on Monday, and then did a couple other things and came back and rode the bikes back yesterday. The weather was gorgeous. My arms are even more tan now than they were just from basically 8 hours of riding the bike straight in the sun on Sunday and then yesterday. And a lot happened over the weekend. College football is absolutely back. It is fantastic. I cannot wait for this season, and I cannot wait for this week. The NFL season kicks off tomorrow night with the Eagles and the Cowboys. The drama-ridden Cowboys against the championship Eagles. Don't think you could guess which way I'm leaning in that game. But we're going to go backwards a little bit because obviously I didn't do a recap. A lot of people didn't do it on Monday. They did it yesterday. So we're about 24 hours later. But let's let's recap what happened on Saturday. And there's a couple things that are alarming for me as a fan watching and somebody who understands what coaches do and how they try to play the game out. The lack, and I do mean lack, the lack of teams that are purposely getting their corners to turn their heads around. The lack of the teams that are doing this. I tell you what, it's bothersome. I saw no less than 20 to 30 potential interceptions that just went straight over the guy's head on Saturday. And I know the coaches are training, but it even happened to seniors. The guys that are going to be drafted into the NFL next year. And I know the coaches are sitting there going, and they're going to be in the film room, if you just turned your head, if you just turned around, if you just put your hands up, you would have stopped the ball from being caught. And it confuses me because how can you rate how good a quarterback actually is when simple coaching is being ignored by the players? And we know they're being coached. Get your head around because you don't want to pass interference. We know they're being taught, snap your head around. I think they need to do more of those drills where you're running this way and you're constantly looking back behind you and running as fast as you can to see if you can continually run in a straight line. And it's not forever. It's 5 to 10 seconds. Look back. 5 to 10 seconds. Look back. I know how these drills work. But evidently, there are multiple teams with players that decided that's not really that important of a drill. So, I'm not so sure how the weekend really would have played out with some better play defense. But I do know this. It was a wild week one. And it ended with TCU romping all over North Carolina in the second half. Ohio State, Big J and I, he came over, hung out. We watched the entire Ohio State-Texas game. I've got my notebook that I already have notes in. And I want to give you two takeaways from each side. And one of them is going to be the same for both. So the first takeaway for both teams is these defenses, by the time we hit October, you will not want to play them. These defenses will be really, really good. I was very impressed with the new guys for Ohio State and how they played and the effort they gave. Now, can they do that all year? Well, obviously, we'll find out. But the schemes worked. And for Texas, they're huge. They are huge. Both of these defenses will be top 5 in college football this year. My gosh, was it a fun game to watch. And I know some of you are like, well, it didn't score many points, Hawk. It wasn't really that exciting. As a football fan, yes, it was. Takeaway number 2. First, let's do Texas side. Takeaway number 2. Steve Sarkisian failed Arch Manning. I've seen a lot of things where the moment was too big for Arch. It was his 4th start ever. Let's calm down. It was his 4th start ever in the horseshoe. And his coach really bombed. His coach has done this before. Let's not forget. Sarkisian has bombed before in big games offensively. Sarkisian absolutely set. The game plan was garbage. Jay and I were talking, and we were just, every time Texas would drop back for a pass, we asked the same question. Where's the crossing routes? Ohio State with Julian saying, they're doing crossers. They're letting their speed guys run away from everybody constantly. Just dump off throws to be able to run. Now, Texas was tackling really well. Sure. But where's the crossing routes? Where's the easy throws? Where's the get into a rhythm throws? There wasn't any of that. I was embarrassed. Steve Sarkisian knows better. You're against an Ohio State team with an NFL defensive coordinator. Regardless of what we think of Matt Patricia, he's an NFL defensive coordinator that has brought a scheme to college football. We have seen this work time and time and time again. And you know what he did? He decided, let's run a bunch of deep in routes against a team that is really comfortable rushing with 4, sometimes 5, and playing coverage on the back end. Yeah, that's going to work well. I felt the game plan was absolute garbage. They didn't run the ball enough. They didn't get the ball into Wingo's hands enough. It was really confusing. Now, is Arch innocent? No. I have one question, though. Were any of you watching the game? Did any of you see how Arch would consistently go like this with his shoulder pads? Get the kid new pads. The pads are uncomfortable on his arms. He's going like this, trying to get his arms in a position to be able to throw. Get him new pads. That's on the equipment manager. Get him the pads that are tight. Get him the pads that move with his arm correctly. That don't drape over his shoulder so much to where he can't lift it up. Hello? It's a quarterback. He's got to use his arm. I didn't understand what it was. If he keeps doing that, I'm going to keep saying it. This is not something you're going to see in the NFL. Those pads are going to be tight. The jersey's going to be tight. The shoulder pads aren't going to move like that. In college, you could tell his jersey was a little bit bigger. It wasn't a tight jersey, and the pads were flopping. That's on the equipment. You guys have got to... Texas, what are you doing? Yeah, you lost this game 14-7. Your defense is going to be stout. Arch is going to be just fine if Sarkisian doesn't blow it. And the way that he tried to change the offense from Ewers, because remember, Ewers didn't have that strong of an arm. It was a lollipop arm. It's not going to work well if you don't get the crossers. And yes, Arch missed a couple, but there were also a couple hit him in the hand. Jeremiah Smith for Ohio State started out horrendously. Changed his gloves, caught all the footballs afterwards. The second takeaway for Ohio State. Ryan Day deserves credit for what he's built. Both teams had a new offensive line. I want to credit Ohio State for how they set everything up to protect Julian, to give him easy throws. Ryan Day understood the moment. Ohio State understood the moment. They only scored 14 points. It's not like they had an offensive explosion like they will against their MAC opponents here, in the coming weeks. They scored 14 points. Let's just back it off for a second. And to be fair, their defense, Arch got into a rhythm. The more he started rolling, the more he started going a little bit quicker. Texas tried to move too fast early. And then finally, when it was time to actually call plays that were designed to run quickly, guess what? The offense looked better. So maybe, Sark, you should slow down early on, get into a rhythm of the game, and then speed up at certain points when you need to give your team the ability to take advantage of opportunities. Ohio State weathered the storm multiple times. Their defensive backs are outstanding. Ohio State was ready for this moment. And Ryan Day deserves a ton of credit for that. A ton of credit. Just like Sark needs to shoulder the blame for a very poor game plan. With a brand new offensive line against a defense that now has an NFL defensive coordinator, you're going to run a bunch of 10 and 15-yard routes. It ain't going to work out well. And you better get that figured out quick, Sark, because the SEC is raring down. And it is on you to set your team up. Arch changed the play early on in the game. I was watching him audible, and he audibled to a run, and it worked. I didn't see him audible very much after that. I don't know if Sark told him not to, but if he did, that's on Sark too. But like I said, I don't know if he did or not, but I noticed early on he audibled. After seeing something on the defense, he got him to a good run play that got him 5 yards. That's an NFL quarterback. Arch needs to be treated as an NFL quarterback. He needs to be given the ability to make some decisions. He's going to make bad ones. He's going to make good ones. Let him make the decisions early on. I felt Sark's plan was horrible, and I thought Ryan Day's plan was outstanding. So congratulations to Ohio State. They're now ranked number 1 in the AP poll, as they should be. As they should be. So congratulations to them. Let's go to the game that night, because this was awesome. LSU and Clemson. What a game. So it is 10-3 at half. Clemson over LSU. One of the most boring first halves ever. It was great. It was great. These two teams hate each other. And even afterwards, we'll get to that in a second. So LSU gets the W in Clemson, 17-10. I love what the Tigers have. My question is the coach more than it is the actual team. Cade Klubnik, 19-38, 230 yards. I don't care. I still love him. Garrett Nussmeier, 28-38, 232 yards. Yeah. Neither team threw the ball really well. The defenses ruled this game. Defense absolutely ruled this game. And take time out. I love this. Now, I know there was comments made that people were like, well, I'm hoping that these games can actually be played later in the season as we move into a bigger college football playoff. Moving into, a 20 team or a 24 team, whatever it may be. I'm going to say this. If week 1, you can just root for your team and not have the fear of losing to take you out of the college football playoff, but you can have Miami, Notre Dame, LSU, Clemson, Texas, Ohio State. You can have, could you think of it in the, hey, South Carolina versus Virginia Tech used to be a big game. If you can have all these games early on in the year with top 10 matchups, week 1, And there were some that are like, yeah, but since there's not any real threat, it's not as big of a deal for these games. Baloney. Yes, it is. Because we want to watch these games. LSU went into Clemson and beat Clemson, who is the favorite to win the ACC. Ohio State defended the shoe against Texas, who is, by most accounts, expected to win the national championship. These games are huge. It doesn't matter if the loss isn't going to hurt them to get into the playoff. So what? You want big games. We've all heard this saying, you can't have your cake and eat it too. There's what it is. You have to pick and choose. I will take every big game on week 1. The biggest Labor Day week there is, I will absolutely take year after year after year. I'm here for it. Give me a huge Labor Day weekend with a bunch of top 25 matchup games. That's what I want. I don't care if it affects what goes on in December. I want to open the year. Football's back. 7-point victory for Ohio State. 7-point victory for LSU. And, oh yeah, by the way, Miami and Notre Dame, that wasn't even 7 points. That was a whole heck of a lot of confusing, but that was only 3 points. We got the big games. Don't start complaining about whether or not they actually matter for December. We just wanted football back. Let football be back and be happy that it's back. Because they were great games. LSU beats Clemson, and then what happened afterwards is Dabo Swinney came out, and I thought his assessment was actually accurate. Dabo said both teams played horrible. If it was a test, that LSU got a 65 and Clemson got a 59. And Kelly's like, did he watch the second half? Yeah. Your team sucked in the first half and probably had maybe a 20 in the first half. So when you average out the first and second half, you probably got a 65, dude. Kelly just retorting to retort. Dabo was spot on with his comment. That neither team played great. I mean, it's a one-score game. Give me a break. So it was comical for me because it once again proves the reason I don't have LSU winning anything is because of Brian Kelly. Because he won't get out of his way when the time comes. He's going to run his mouth. And as Saban said on game day, you use everything you get as bulletin board material. And Kelly will never shut his mouth and not give the other team bulletin board material. If Clemson plays LSU again in the playoff, Clemson's going to swamp them. Because they're all going to remember what Kelly said after they lost. They'll remember. So it works. All right, on to Miami and Notre Dame. So this game was wild. This game was wild. Notre Dame is down. They are down 21. You heard me. 21-7. Heading into the fourth quarter. In that fourth quarter, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish kept fighting and scored 3 touchdowns. Scored 17 points. 3 scores. 2 touchdowns and a field goal. How this played out was odd. Mario Cristobal, this is why I don't pick Miami to win much. Mario Cristobal couldn't look up at the Jumbotron. Couldn't look at any of the tickers around the middle of that stadium and know how many timeouts Notre Dame had. He ran an offensive play expecting Notre Dame to already be out of timeouts at the end of the game. And then when Notre Dame called a timeout, his reaction is priceless. It will be a meme. I'm waiting for it to pop up because his reaction is going to be a new meme. It's going to be it's going to be one of those where when your wife tells you something and you don't think it ever had a chance to actually happen and then it does. That's what it's going to be. Like it was fantastic. We've seen this before. People lose track of timeouts, whatever. As coaches, that shouldn't happen. But it didn't end up hurting them as the Hurricanes pull out a big victory to open the year, 27-24 over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, when you look at the stats, I was doing this earlier this morning, late last night. Carson Beck, 20 of 31, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. CJ Carr, 19 of 30, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. The reality is, these two teams were very, very, very evenly matched. You look at the rushing yards, Miami had 37 rushes for 127. Notre Dame had 27 rushes for 94. These teams were outrageously even. And to be very fair, I believe the interception of Carr actually played a big factor in the outcome. They probably would have gotten Notre Dame probably would have gotten to 27 before Miami got to 27, honestly. I think that interception, great play by the defense. I think that interception changed everything. When you're looking at the Miami receivers, Malachi Toney, I like this kid. I really like this kid. 6 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. He looks smooth. And I know he's happy to have a guy like Carson Beck able to throw to him. I still have questions about Carson Beck, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of questions about Carson Beck. Health, charisma, overall makeup, just how I never really thought it was him that was the reason Georgia was winning. Gunnar Stockton kind of proved that, unfortunately. But I do think there is something for Beck if he can figure out how to settle down in the pocket. He gets really wild. He gets happy feet, but not because he's ready to throw, because he's starting to panic. And when you watch him play, you never know if he's actually in control of the game. But to his credit, he didn't have a bunch of issues in this one. And he kept his composure. And the Hurricanes pull out a big win to open the year, 27-24. All right. Let's take a break from football. We'll come back to it. Don't worry, there's plenty more going on. But let's move to, here we go. 10,000-foot view of sports. What did happen over the weekend? Well, we've got baseball. It's September, guys. Baseball is absolutely in full swing. So here we go. We are looking at how these teams could end up playing out. Last night's games were big. They were big. We got some big series going on right now. The New York Mets and the Detroit Tigers. This series is really big because obviously every night there's a winner, there's a loser, obviously. But when you look at the standings right now, my gosh. So, at this point, in the American League East, the New York Yankees in their last 10 are 8-2. The Blue Jays are 5-5, so they've gained in 3 games on the Blue Jays. The Red Sox are 7-3, and don't look now, but the Tampa Bay Rays are 8-2 in their last 10, and they've won 5 in a row. So the Rays are sneaking into not the division, but they're sneaking into the wild card conversation. When you look at the American League West, this is actually really big. The Houston Astros in their last 10 are 5-5. Now, the Mariners have pounced on them previously, making those mistakes. They've not. They've gone 4-6 in their last 10 in kind of a slump. And the Texas Rangers have gone 8-2 in the last 10 and are now only 4.5 back of the Astros. Yes, you heard me right. The Astros. I don't know if anybody saw last night, Framber Valdez gives up a grand slam and then whines and complains to the catcher and, threw a ball that crossed him up, and it was childish. It's the Houston Astros, though, so, they've been childish for years now. No surprise here. But the battles down the stretch. September baseball is going to be good. The San Diego Padres have been in the same boat. In their last 10, they're 3-7. And you would think, well, if the Padres are 3-7, the Dodgers have just blown them away. Au contraire. The Dodgers have only gone 5-5, so the Padres are still only 2.5 back in that division. And don't look now, but the last 10 games, the Giants have gone 9-1. 9-1 and are now 8.5 back of the division and 6 games back of the Padres. The Cubs are 5 games back of the Brewers. I honestly don't think they can do it unless the Brewers drop off a cliff. They needed to win more in that series. The Mets and Phillies. People are saying the Phillies have a really comfortable lead. They do. But they play 4 games against each other. That series is huge. It cannot be understated how big that 4-game series is. It cannot be understated. That series will decide everything. If the Mets can take 3 of 4, they'll gain in 2 games automatically. If the Phillies take 3 of 4, they'll gain 2 games away from the Mets. If they split, obviously it's even. That series has a lot riding on it. That is a playoff series for the division. The Brewers easily look like they're going to end up being the number 1 team in the National League. The problem is, I don't know who's going to be the number 1 team on the other side now. The Blue Jays and the Tigers are currently tied. The Astros are 4 games back. I don't think they're going to catch up. But the Yankees are only 3 games back of the Blue Jays. 2.5 games back of the Blue Jays. So when we look at the wild card situation, let's look at the wild card. You've got the Mariners sitting in 3rd. Red Sox at 2, Yankees at 1. The Rangers are a game and a half back. Royals are 2.5. Rays are 3.5. And yes, even the Guardians are only 4 games back in the American League wild card. And that is basically where we're at with the American League. The Angels, Athletics, Orioles, Twins, White Sox, they're out. Now you go to the National League. This one has ended up really being less than what I thought it was going to be about, a month ago. The Cubs are currently sitting at the top. Padres right behind. And then the Mets are right there. So I want to play out a scenario for you. Let's say the New York Mets do struggle in that series against Philly, let's say they lose 3. Okay, that'll be 2 games lost on Philly. The division's over. It's Phillies. They are 5 games in front of the Reds and 5 games in front of the Giants. Now, the Reds have had a really tough stretch. They got the Dodgers and the Blue Jays back to back. It's a rough stretch. It's a rough stretch. The Reds, I do like their team. I really like them for the future. They're still above 500, and they're still very respectable. You don't want to play them. They still score runs. The Giants have won 3 in a row. They're 9-1 in their last 10. Watch out for the Giants to be able to sneak up on the Mets or the Padres. The Padres are only 1 game in front of the Mets. The Cubs, mostly comfortable. Mostly comfortable. But even the Cubs got to keep winning. They got the Braves series. I told you they got to win. They've won 2 in a row. They play the Braves again tonight. They got to keep this going. They got to keep winning these games. And honestly, as Milwaukee plays the tougher schedules, that's just going to kind of be how it plays out right now. So what do we have on tap for this weekend? So let's go to Friday. I'm not going to tomorrow. Let's go to Friday because that'll be a full day of games. So what big series do we have this weekend? Well, there's a really, really, really big one. This weekend is the Toronto Blue Jays at the New York Yankees. That has huge American League East implications on it. And also, Houston is at Texas. So the Astros go visit the Rangers. Huge series. Remember, the Rangers are only 4.5 back. You take 2 or 3 from Houston, you gain a game automatically. Now you're only 3.5 back. This weekend has a lot of random games. Like, we got some good ones. The Giants at the Cardinals. The Athletics are at the Angels. Boston's at Arizona. We got some good games. The Mets are at Cincinnati. Here's Cincinnati's chance. Don't sleep on the Reds. You're playing the team that's in front of you. Don't sleep on the Reds. The Mets need to go in there and handle business because the Reds could easily trim down that wild card lead. There's plenty of options with this. So a big weekend series. You got Mets, Reds, Toronto, New York, Houston, and Texas. Those are the 3 biggest series this weekend. And honestly, this weekend's going to be one of those that could really set up September. We got through Labor Day. We got through everything. And now you're into crunch time. You've got to win these games. Now, I do want to point out for tomorrow. So tomorrow, the Yankees play the Astros and the Phillies play the Brewers. Today, it's a big game because you've got Aaron Nola for Philly versus Jose Quintana for the Brewers. If the Phillies win again and the Cubs win, there is a path for the Cubs to catch the Brewers, but it's only with the Brewers losing. But New York is at Houston again. If New York wins again, Cincinnati may be able to knock off Toronto. That can take the lead down that Toronto has over the Yankees, and then the Red Sox are playing Cleveland. It's big. Each series matters. Each series absolutely matters. When you look at next week, so obviously we'll do this, but we got a bunch of football to talk, so we're really not going to talk much baseball. Let's just be honest. Week 1 will dominate Monday and Tuesday shows, and so we won't get too much baseball. So let's just preview Tuesday next week. Here we go. That is the start of the New York Mets and Philadelphia Phillies series. Oh, yeah. Actually, they start on Monday. That is a huge, huge series. You want to know what else is going on? The Cincinnati Reds are at the San Diego Padres. So once again, a really, really, really tough test. However, it's wild card implications. If the Reds can knock them off, the Padres have been up, down all year. They can knock them off. There's potential. You also have the Brewers at the Rangers next week for a series. This is going to be big. The Royals are at Cleveland. Royals and Guardians, that will be, if that goes either way, if either team can sweep, it can really knock the other team out of the wild card race. The Astros are at the Blue Jays. So the battle of number ones in their division, it's great baseball. I love September baseball. And the matchups we have with the playoff implications in September is what baseball needs. Are we going to talk about it a ton? No, not till next Wednesday. But it's what baseball needs. We're going to be talking football. Football dominates. Football is king. We know this. But baseball has been good this year. And me, as more nostalgia, and when my wife and I were up in the Arch, I was looking at the new, revamped Busch Stadium, newly redone Busch Stadium, sitting up in the Arch, taking the picture of St. Louis. And for, Papa Bear and Grams lived there for 15 years. And we always would visit them. And I've gone to the zoo and I've gone to the Arch before. And, we've gone other, places, and we've gone to Cardinal games. And just sitting up there, I was in Nostalgiaville. And I was just going back and remembering the home run chase year. The year with Bartman and the Cubs. I was remembering the Red Sox and the Cardinals. And just going back through, baseball was fun. Baseball was fun to watch. And it needs to get back to that, because you can't have a dual dominated sports league. It can't just be NFL, NBA. Baseball needs to be there. They need to shorten the season. I know the money is not going to let them because of XYZ. Try. Cut 20 games off the schedule. Just make it easier for fans. Cut 22 games off the schedule. Shorten the season. You've done great with the games. The baseball's fun to watch. I enjoy a pitching matchup more than a hitting matchup. But you know what? They both work. So just keep working on it, baseball. Because you have to be that third leg. You need to be the third sports pillar leg in this country. Because it is fun, it is engaging, and baseball, when it's played that well, is fun and great to watch. So I hope they continue moving it on. All right. So the last thing, let's see here. Yep. So the last thing we're going to talk about is some of the things that took place that certain teams are going to want to forget. Now, for those of you that are wondering, if you're a Kansas State fan, you're like, hold it, Kansas State won. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they won all right. Oh, my gosh. So I watched all of the Alabama-Florida State game. Huge kudos to Florida State. That was a heck of a game to watch. The Seminoles looked hungry. I mean, they looked hungry. They looked like a team that had been left for dead because of a really, really bad year last year. They came out wanting to bite people's heads off. That was fun to watch from just a team standpoint. They played hard. And absolutely torched Alabama. The score was only 31-17. No, they torched Alabama. Alabama never really got a foothold, never really had an opportunity to truly catch up in this game. It was all Seminoles. They played their hearts out. They had 49 rushes for 230 yards, a different type of Florida State team. 49 rushes, 230 yards. They had 9 of 14 passing for 152. Hey, no turnovers. Averaged 10 yards a throw, almost 11. Great game. They controlled the ball. They controlled the clock. They looked like that fighter that's just the bigger fighter that's just sitting there letting the little guy kind of just hit him and just going, ouch, that hurt. And then just going, pow, right in the mouth. Because they knocked Alabama out in the second quarter. And Alabama never recovered. Now, for Alabama, now that I would have been called crazy, I'm not crazy as much now. I predicted they would miss the playoff again. I did lock that in. Yes, I did. I locked that in, and, well, looks like it may be the case again. Their quarterback wasn't horrible. 23 of 43 for Ty Simpson, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have a fumble, but didn't end up having any turnovers. The running game was 29 carries for 87 yards. That's a 3-yard per carry average, friends. That's not going to get it done. That is not going to get it done. Is it time to panic if you're Alabama? Listen, I'm going to say no, and here's why. Nick Saban retired. He took the entire team with him. Most everybody transferred after Saban left. Kellen DeBoer he needs time. We need to give him 5 years to get Alabama back to what we thought Alabama was. Let's be honest. This Alabama is just a little bit closer to what it was pre-Nick Saban. Pre-Nick Saban, this was Alabama. So don't flip out. I don't think Alabama's going to drop to the floor. But I do think that expecting more 9-3 seasons is correct, especially in the SEC, especially when they don't have a money line behind them that's going to be able to pay some of these players the same. It's okay. If you're Bama, you're not panicking. Now, I want to go to another team that I believe should panic. I believe Kansas State should panic. I cannot believe, and I did. I put this in the prediction, and it was one of my long shots. Just something after their opening week loss to Iowa State I did not like about Kansas State. Kansas State, to me, looks lost. And they almost lost to North Dakota. Not North Dakota State, not the Bison, who have been known to play tough. No. North Dakota. The Fighting Hawks. Yeah. And it was bad. So here's how this game played out. It was 10-7 at the end of the first quarter. It was 21-17 North Dakota at the end of the second quarter. So at halftime, North Dakota's leading. Then K-State comes out and it looks like they put the just put the womp on. They scored 14 points, shut out North Dakota in the third quarter. All of a sudden you're thinking, okay, this is good. 31-21. We're set. No. North Dakota comes back. And And North Dakota makes this a whale of a game. To their credit, they got knocked down and they didn't give up. With 4:41 left, with their first two drives of the fourth quarter, they went 9 plays, 71 yards, 9 plays, 70 yards, scored 2 touchdowns, and all of a sudden, North Dakota's up 35-31. And then the Kansas State Wildcats do what should be done. They run down the field. It took them 10 plays, 81 yards. They get a touchdown that gives them a victory. I don't feel good about Kansas State at all. I wouldn't put them in the top 25 right now. The way this team is playing is bad. This team is playing, I mean, it doesn't look good. It does not look good. They had 27 rushes for 146 yards. Avery Johnson was 28 of 43 for 318 and 3 touchdowns. And you look on the other side and you're thinking, well, shoot, this was even worse. North Dakota, 33 rushes, 102 yards. Passing, they were 24 of 39 for 252 and a touchdown. The numbers say Kansas State should have run away with this one, yet they didn't. Against a much lesser opponent. North Dakota does not have the players Kansas State does. Kansas State was home, paying North Dakota to come play them. And what happens? Kansas State almost falls flat. And this is not an opening week game like we've seen before. This is Kansas State's already played. They saw what they needed to fix, and they still couldn't do it. I'm not so sure about Kansas State. I'm really not. I am not so sure whether or not Kansas State is actually going to be able to match up in the Big 12. Can they really match up? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. All right, last game before we close this out. TCU and North Carolina. Boy, was this an embarrassment. Oh my gosh, was this an embarrassment. So, Gio Lopez got the start. Max Johnson comes in. This was bad. Bill Belichick's team may be a team that only wins 4 games. It also could be a team that wins 8 games. It's a really great question, but this original game doesn't look great. Josh Hoover, the TCU quarterback, was 27 of 37, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. The rushing attack for TCU, 35 runs, 258 yards. That's a 7.4 yard per carry average. 7.4 yards per carry. 2 touchdowns. For North Carolina, as a team, they were 13 of 21, 172 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. On the ground, 28 rushes, 50 yards. 1.8 yards per carry. Is it time to panic if you're North Carolina? No. This team has got so many transfers, it's not even funny. And I don't believe Bill Belichick's going to be there next year anymore. No. It's not time to panic. But it is time to realize that Bill Belichick, when by himself, is not as great of a coach any longer. He was, let me be very clear, he was one of the best coaches of all time. He is not a college coach, nor is he really fit for the NFL today. Adaptability matters. I have never seen a Bill Belichick team that unprepared. They got steamrolled 48-14. I've never seen a Bill Belichick team that unprepared. Now, congratulations to TCU. Not going to take anything away from TCU. Can't take anything away from them. But doggone it. What a romp. What a romp. All right. So, let's ask the question. What is on the horizon? Well, really simple. Tomorrow, we start the NFL weekend previews. Tomorrow night, Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Cowboys. If you haven't logged on to your FanDuel account, go for it. I am, oh my gosh, my brain has exploded with all of the bonus this and bonus that and bonus here and bonus there and do this. Whoa! Okay, I understand why people can lose so much money doing this. It's a good thing I don't actually bet real money. I did win some last night off of my bonus bet money that I got from the weekend. So once again, won money off of not my own money, and that's how you keep from going broke, people. All right, but log on to your FanDuel account, check out some of the stuff. Listen, we'll do the preview for the Eagles and Cowboys tomorrow. It'll be a relatively short one. I'm fully aware of this. We will also start working on the previews for the weekend because, let's be honest, just Friday alone, I got my picks to get to. We're going to do some fantasy deep dives tomorrow of what it looks like fantasy-wise. I run a lot of leagues, and we're actually going to follow one league through the year. Most of that will be on Wednesdays when we do the recap of what happened in the main Thunder Sports League. So I'm excited about that. And so we'll go over some fantasy, we'll do some previews, and we'll just kind of set the table for what is now opening weekend in the NFL. Last weekend it was college football. Then I went away, had a great time, get away with the wife. Now we're back. It's opening weekend of NFL football, and I am so here for it. Thank goodness. Thank goodness it is back. All right, guys. Great day. It's a great day. Make it the best day that you can. It's Wednesday. Get through today. You only got 2 more days left. You only got 2 more left. Just get through today. Get through today. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you so much for doing so. It is now 66 degrees. So in the hour we've been live, it's raised 7 degrees. I'm going to go outside for a second, enjoy the air. And then I will probably get to bed here shortly to go to work tonight. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, like the podcast. It helps me out, and I deeply appreciate it. We're off for 23 hours, guys. Make it the best day you can. For Sports Talk with Hawk, I am Hawk, and I'm out. Have a great day.